Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing a video that I am so excited about. I've had this idea for like almost 9 months now and I have just been so excited to do it, but it's the type of video that I can only do at a specific time of the year. And basically you've already seen by the title, I am going to be reading Booktubers' favorite books of 2018. So it's already about a week into 2019 and I'm filming this intro a little bit late. I've already started some of these books. It took a while for me to compile the list of books that I wanted to read because some booktubers put their favorite books lists out like really early in December and then some, like me, haven't even put them out yet. I know it says reading booktubers' favorite books, but I picked 2 booktubers and 2 book bloggers, and coincidentally enough, one of the book bloggers that I chose started her booktube channel January 1st and her first video was her favorite books of 2018. It was just perfect timing. So now it's 3 booktubers and 1 book blogger. And I went through all 4 of their favorites lists and I picked out a book from each of their lists that was either one I've never heard before, sounded the most interesting to me, or was just the only one on the list that I hadn't read yet. Let me just go through and let you guys know who the booktubers were and what the books were. So the first one is Emily Fox. I chose a sci-fi book off of her list. She reads a lot of sci-fi and I kind of trust her opinion on sci-fi. So I chose The Humans by Matt Haig. Basically, she said that this book is hilarious and it's about this alien who gets sent to Earth to like observe humans and like the book is written from the alien's point of view and just talking about like how weird humans are and like the weird stuff they do and stuff that makes no sense, and it just sounds really funny. The next booktuber is Madeline from Novel Inc. and from her list, her #1 favorite book of the year was A Heart in a Body in the World by Deb Coletti, and this is about a girl who something traumatic happened to her and one day she just snaps and decides that she wants to run from Seattle to Washington, D.C. And so the book is literally just about her running across the United States and dealing with trauma. It definitely sounds not like something I would pick up on my own, but when I looked it up on Goodreads, a lot of my Goodreads friends who I really trust gave it 5 stars, so I feel like it's gonna be a very like impactful book. The next person is my absolute favorite person, Melanie from Mel to the Annie. You've probably seen her on Goodreads. She's like one of the top Goodreads reviewers. She's absolutely incredible at writing book reviews. And she just started her booktube channel, which is so exciting. It's like the best thing that could have happened in 2019. So from her list, I pretty much had read almost every single book on her list. Her and I have very similar book taste. So from her list, I picked Blanca Roja from Anne-Marie McLemore, and I've never read anything from Anne-Marie McLemore before, but I know that she is like really known for magical realism, which isn't a genre that I typically gravitate towards. But this, I believe, is like a Snow White, Red Rose retelling. That's all I know about it. I've heard it is beautiful and lyrical, and it's about sisters, and I trust Melanie with my whole heart, so I feel like I'm gonna love this book. And the last person I chose is Destiny, and she is a book blogger. Her blog is called Howling Library, and again, from her list, I had read a lot of the books, but there was one book on there that I have really been wanting to read, and for some reason, I just never pushed myself to do it, and that is Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Marsh Glenn, and this is basically about a bisexual necromancer. That's all I know about it, and that just sounds amazing. For the next month, I will be reading these and vlogging what I think of them. I'm really excited to do this, so I feel like it's gonna be good. Okay, let's just ignore the fact that my bedroom is a complete disaster. I just haven't been a functioning human being lately. But I just finished my first booktuber book, or not booktuber book, my first booktuber's favorite book. I read A Heart in a Body in the World. This was the book that I chose from Madeline from Novel Inc.'s favorite book list, and I really enjoyed this, I think, a lot more than I was expecting, considering I had never heard of this book before and it wasn't really something I probably would have picked up on my own. Like I said, it's about a girl who something traumatic happens to her. Basically, I don't want to spoil it because you kind of, you find out through the course of the book what happened, but basically there was an act of gun violence and she is dealing with a lot of survivor's guilt, and one day she just snaps, something happens, and she literally just decides that she has to run from Seattle to Washington, D.C. It's something that she's kind of had in the back of her mind as something that she wanted to do, and she just decided to do it. And so this book is following that journey of her running, and it's a very character-driven book. Like, not much of anything really happens in the plot. It's just a lot of her running, but following her mental journey was just so fascinating, and seeing her working through everything that was going on. It's really a book about emotions and psychology and what happens to a person when something really traumatic happens and what that does to someone's mind. I really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Couldn't give it 5 stars just because there were times that I felt like it slowed too much and I was a little bit bored. It's such an important book. I really loved her grandfather. Her grandfather follows her in an RV as she's running, and so like every day they have like a meetup point, and he was a character. He was super fun, like this classic Italian grandfather, and I really liked him. I also really liked her group of friends. She had a really strong support system with her friend group and her little brother, and I really liked that. So all in all, a pretty good pick for my first book of the year. So, I just finished reading The Humans by Matt Haig, and this was from Emily Fox's favorites books list, and I really liked this. I think I read it at the perfect time because I had just finished The Wicked King by Holly Black, which totally destroyed me, and I'm talking about that book in a different video. And I felt like I was gonna fall into a reading slump. I just needed something quick and light, and that's exactly what this is. I mean, I don't know if light is the right word. There was a lot of like depth and emotion in it, but it was also really funny and didn't take itself too seriously. So I guess, yeah, it was kind of light. But like I said, this is about an alien who is sent to Earth to stop this mathematic equation from getting out that could significantly advance human technology. And so he goes into the place or the body of the guy who solved the equation, and he's trying to figure out like who else he told about the equation so he can also kill them. The book is completely told from the alien's point of view as he is learning about Earth and humans and discovering all these things about humanity, and it's really funny because he's observing humans for the first time, so there's a lot of things that like we do that from his perspective was just bizarre and made no sense. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, it was really funny, but it also touched on a lot of deeper topics. I loved seeing the progression of the alien. There was also, I was not expecting this, but there was a really cute romance that took me by surprise with how much I cared about it. I didn't even realize how much I cared about this relationship until nearing the end of the book, and I was like devastated by something that happened. But yeah, I really liked this. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I also would want to check out some of Matt Haig's other books. I'm really glad that this was one of the books that I chose because I don't know if I would have ever picked this up on my own, which so far that's kind of been the point of this little experiment or thing that I'm doing. Is so far both books that I've read are ones that I probably wouldn't have read on my own, and I really enjoyed both of them. So I just finished reading Destiny's pick, which was Reign of the Fallen, and oh my god, you guys, this book was so good. You guys know that the past year I've been really disappointed in young adult fantasy, and this was just everything I wanted it to be. The like simple pitch of this book is that it is about a bisexual necromancer, which is, it delivered. Basically, it takes place in this fantasy world where there are different types of mages. So there's necromancers, there's healers, there's oh, I forget what they're called, but they have like an animal companion that they are connected with. Those are all the ones that I can think of. And so there's all these different types of mages, but the most important one is the necromancers, because in this world they can bring the dead back, but there is a price that they pay, and if you raise the dead, they have to stay completely covered. If one human even lays eyes on their bare skin, they turn into this monster called a shade, which is like completely devoid of humanity and just wants to feast on human flesh. They basically turn into like a zombie type thing, but like scarier. Pretty much only like high profile people in royalty get to come back to life. The king being one of them. He has been risen from the dead many times by our main character, Odessa, who is like a very skilled necromancer, and her boyfriend, who is also a necromancer, and they're partners because you're not supposed to raise the dead without a partner because you have to go into this like the land of the dead, and it's very dangerous. But oh my god, this book was just so good. Like, there was a lot of action and I loved the characters. Odessa has a really like strong friendship group and I loved all of them. There was this like super adorable princess who like wears glasses and just wants to invent things, and she was so cute. There's a girl named Merity. She's one of the mages who can control animals or control an animal, and so her animal is this grizzly bear named Lysander, who is like the cutest thing in the whole world. I loved like their bond together. Also, there's a lot of diversity in this book. Like I said, the main character is bisexual and she has multiple sexual partners in this book. I guess the main relationship is female-female. Then there's also an already established male-male relationship, which I really liked them. Then there's also substance abuse and grief. That is a really big topic that was talked about a lot, and I thought it was handled really well. The main character, Odessa, in the beginning of the book, something really traumatic happens and she's dealing with grief, and she turns to drugs, basically, and has a substance abuse problem for a really big portion of the book, and I thought it was really interesting. I really love when fantasy books explore topics like that. Mental health specifically is like one of my favorite things to see in fantasy books, so to see the addiction and substance abuse was really cool, I thought. Overall, I just really liked this book. It was super fast-paced. Like I said, there was a lot of action. I'm excited to read the sequel, and actually the sequel just came out today as I'm filming this, so I might try to read it this month. I don't know, we'll see if I have time, because I still have to read the last Booktuber book. I still have Blanca Roja, which I'm really excited about. Okay, so I just finished the last Booktuber book. This was Blanca Roja by Anne-Marie McLemore, and this was from Melanie from Mel to the Annie's List, and oh my god, I loved this one too. I cannot believe I haven't read an Anne-Marie McLemore book yet, because holy crap, the writing was so beautiful. And it was like everything that I love. Like I mentioned, this was kind of like a Snow White, Red Rose inspired story. It also, I think, had influence from Swan Lake. It is about these two sisters. One was born darker with brown skin, brown eyes, red hair, and the other was born with blonde hair, white skin. In their family, there was this curse. For every pair of sisters that is born, the swans will take one of them to be turned into a swan. Pretty much everyone has always thought that Roja, who is the darker skinned sister, is the one who would be taken by the swans, as opposed to like her perfect, beautiful white sister. The story is really about these sisters and what they're willing to do for each other. And so through the generations, a lot of these sisters have turned against each other and become rivals, hoping that these swans will take the other sister and spare them. But instead of turning against each other, Blanca and Roja spent their lives trying to trick the swans into not knowing which sister to take. We read from 4 different points of views, obviously the two sisters, Blanca and Roja, and then we also read from the points of views of 2 boys whose lives kind of intersect with theirs. One of them is Yearling, who there's a lot of mystery around his character, so I don't really want to say too much, but at one point he ran away from his life into the forest and was turned into a bear. He has a very interesting story. And then the other perspective was from a non-binary character who uses both him and her pronouns but identifies as a boy, named Paige. But the relationship between Blanca and Roja was definitely the shining star of this book. I loved their relationship so much. It actually, this book reminded me a lot of one of my favorite books of 2018, which was The Sisters of the Winterwood. They both deal with very similar topics. I think if you liked one of those books, you'll also like the other. But I also loved the romantic relationships. I definitely think I liked Roja and Yearling's relationship more than Blanca and Paige. One, just because I feel like I liked Roja more as a character than Blanca. I still really loved Blanca as well, but I felt like I connected more with Roja, and her relationship with Yearling just really, like, I loved it a lot. But the other romance was great as well. I just, in general, loved the way that these four characters interacted with each other and had this super intricate bond. And also, I think this might be a relationship that gets a little bit overlooked. As I was looking at reviews, no one really mentioned it, but I really liked the relationship between Roja and Paige, because throughout the entire book they didn't really like each other, but there was this kind of underlying protectiveness that they had over each other because they both shared people that they loved, because they knew that if one of them were to get hurt, the people that they loved would also feel hurt. They had this kind of protectiveness even though they didn't like each other, and I just really liked that. Also, Yearling's character, besides being very mysterious and you're trying to figure out kind of what is going on with him, he also had an injury to his eye, and so throughout the book he's kind of losing his eyesight and struggling with that, and so there was a lot of discussion around his disability. And I also just really loved the discussion around colorism and racism within the community. Since Blanca is very fair-skinned and white passing, she is viewed and treated very differently than Roja, whose skin is darker. There's mention of Blanca being a princess, whereas Roja is a witch, and there's a lot of discussion around skin color and how people perceive you because of that, and the inequality, and I just really enjoyed all of that discussion. Overall, I just loved this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I definitely want to read more by Emery McLemore. I am so excited to read some more of her books, so definitely let me know in the comments. I know she has, I think, like 3 or 4 other books besides this one, so let me know in the comments which one is like your favorite or you think I should read. I'm definitely excited to read more from her. So that brings us to the end of this video. I am really impressed. I rated all these books that I read 4 stars, so clearly Booktubers recommend good books. I genuinely thought there would be at least one that I was just kind of like, I don't know, but I ended up loving all these books, and I am really glad that I did this. So thank you to the people who unwillingly participated in this video: Melanie, Destiny, Madeline, and Emily. Thank you guys, even though you have no idea that I did this. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!